Hey all, Pixel here. We're back at work on the quarter. I'm gonna try and get the inside of this fabricated at least. All right, so first off, came up with a way to put a mount in here. It's just a bolt run through one of the trim holes with a mount that's usually supposed to go on a cold shoe, not a cold shoe, a pin thing on it. So I'm gonna be able to mount the camera to that. It's gonna be sideways, so I'm only gonna use it for the time lapse, and I don't know whether you're gonna get, time-lapse footage like this, or whether I'll crop it so that it's vertical. I'm suspecting I'm going to have to just run it sideways. But anyway, off camera, when I had a little bit of time, I put some paint in here. This is all the Master Series anti-rust paint. Just wanted to get a quick slather on here. There's going to be more going on once I've got my pieces fabricated. I also went in and ground off the really tall spots that were going to interfere with my panels. But basically, I need to make a couple patches. I'm not fully plating this in today, but I need to make a couple pieces. I need to fill in this down here and bring it up. There's either going to be one piece that's going to come up to about here and then a separate piece above it, or I may make it all one piece that comes up, and it's got to come up to about here, at which point, it's because it's going to be welded to the outside here, at which point it needs to transition down to this one. So it's probably going to be the same piece just with a slice in it, pushed it down to meet this one, and then welded there. So the second piece is going to start here. It's going to come up with these, and it's going to meet, and it's going to cover all this up in here. That's going to be the sort of oddest one because it's going to have some shape to it. And then there's going to be another one. It's going to meet that and basically fill this in. I'm going to have to probably come in and do a little bit of welding in here to just close this seam up. And then that's probably where I'm going to be today as far as plating it in, because I don't want to build anything in here that's welded to the quarter until I've done this repair and this piece can't move relative to the rest of the body. But yeah, that's basically it. I'm going to make some paper patterns and then transfer those to steel. And basically what I need to do is fab the pieces that are going to go in here, at least these two big ones. And then once I've got them the way I want them, that's going to help me figure out what needs to be painted with more Master Series, because it's not going to be welded on, and what I need to paint with the weld through primer, because it is going to be welded on. The pieces that I make, the inside of them also need paint prep so that they're not going to just be bare steel in there and not going to just rust. Alrighty, this actually went pretty well. So this one is basically all set. There's a little bit I need to grind away of the panel itself right there. But other than that, this one's basically ready to be welded in. This one's going to need a little bit of work. Like I need to trim off a little here, I need to trim off a little there, and I need to do a little more shaping. This white line is the edge of the lip. So what I'm going to do is get it off of here and then sort of bend that down a bit, because that'll both make that lip lay flatter, and it'll also apply more pressure here so the whole thing will be in more. But other than that, like, that's pretty good. I ended up using the sheet metal screws because I realized there was no good way to hold this. There's no way to clamp it, and I can weld up the holes real quick. They're just small holes. But as you can see, that basically seals me up to here. And then I need to make another piece to seal that little bit up there. Not entirely sure the best way to go about that. I think I may make something with a folded edge and maybe tuck it under this, because like these overlap over here. And I may do the same thing up here with having this piece overlap onto this one, but not really 100% sure. but still, very good progress. I was afraid that this wouldn't be recessed enough and it would intrude too much into where the wheel's supposed to be, but I realized that the old one, it had a much deeper dish because it came out like over here. So it needed to have a much deeper dish sort of in this area, but since I'm pushing it back, that's less of a concern. I was gonna make the bits for that, but I think I'm gonna go in and have dinner. And I may or may not come back out here tonight.
One eternity later.
Hey all, another day in the garage. Yeah, I'm in a t-shirt because either the heater in here has gotten it warm enough that it's reasonable like this, or I'm running a fever again, and who knows, because I've been sick as a dog for the last week. But anyway, I managed to get back out here, do a little bit, but I'm out of it enough. I did a whole project without even filming it. I ended up building a rack for this and for those. These just drop in. The bolt that holds them in place on the table has its own little place, and then this bolt is attached to a little bit of steel that, oh, fuck, I can't do that one-handed. This bolt's attached to a little bit of steel that sticks down about that far, and that just drops into another piece welded onto there, so that these are all out of the way when I don't need them, which cleared up the table, which of course it's full of crap because I've been working on it, but that's nice to have a place for those to live. I'm going to pull that down in a second because I'm working on the Oldsmobile and also forgot to film there. All right, nothing's really changed here. I just sprayed the edges with a copper so I can know where the exact edge is for the purpose of putting paint on and stuff so that I can get this welded in properly. But this little thing is the piece that's going to fit in here, which obviously still needs a bunch more trimming, and I bent it way too far, but that's going to be the little filler piece for there that'll take me as far as this edge goes, which is going to be the last of this panel until I get the outside done. So I'm just going to get to work on trying to make that fit. All right, and that's that fitted. I ended up, as I'm sure you noticed, getting a different piece because I'd cut the other one at the wrong angle. But as you can see now, this is secured here behind the other one, and it does a pretty darn good job of following this curve here. It follows it up here. You can see by the line here that, I don't know how well that shows on camera, but there's a line here. This is going to get lopped off and smoothed off. It's a little bit up here that may get lopped off as well. I got to trim that corner very slightly, but this is essentially all set. Oh yeah, I'm going to trim down here. But these three pieces are all basically set. I'm going to leave this one with a little extra hanging out here, even after I weld it in, because I'm not entirely sure how I'm building all of this up here. So there's no point in cutting that off if it turns out it would be useful to have a bit there, and if it wouldn't be, I'll just lop it off then. Yeah, so these all need to get taken off. They need to get prepped for spot welding, painted with Master Series, which is also going to involve scuffing them really good. And I need to down in here behind this, I'm going to have to bend a small 90-degree, get it to match the curve in here, and then figure out a way to weld that in so that this has a backing in this corner, because right now you can see it's just kind of flopping around. I don't think I can get the, well, no, you know what, I did it on the van. I can just get the welder in here and get this with a couple welds, and then use seam sealer to take care of the rest of the problem. This whole corner is still gonna always be ugly, but this will fix all the rust that was, replace that inner panel that was all rusted. That takes care of all of this. So this part's going to be all sealed up again. And like I said, this part's not getting built until the outer panel's built, because the outer panel currently flexes and I don't want to weld this to it and weld it in the wrong place. I'm realizing, looking at all the places where it's chipped, I think I'm going to have to try my best to get as much, if not all of this undercoating off in here, because there is, as you can see by the fact that that light stuck to it, there's big swaths that have chipped off and started to surface rust. So I need to, at the very least, go through and find every place like that that's loose rust. Yeah, like this seam up here desperately needs to get properly cleaned up and treated and seam sealed again so that doesn't rot out. And I'm going to look out for any other seams like that. This piece still has to get hacked off. I haven't done that yet because, again, I'm not quite sure what I'm doing up there. But this is pretty good. So yeah, I need to pull this off and scuff it, punch the spot welds all around it. So I think I'll pick this up today or another day when this is ready to be welded in because everything's been prepped. And another day, back at it. So these have all been painted with Master Series everywhere where I'm not welding, and then sprayed with the weld through copper primer. I realized after I did it that I didn't need to spray the outside, and in fact I should take this off because it'll make it a little harder to do the welding. So I'm going to go back in with these and just very quickly buzz the primer off of all the spot weld spots. But yeah, these are all ready to go. This here is overlapped by that, which is why it doesn't have anything. This is butted up against the wheel well, so that's why it doesn't have any holes. And then same with this, this is butted up against something, so that's why it doesn't have any holes. But these all basically just need to get spot welded in and spot welded on, you know, just a couple of welds on these edges, and then they're going to get completely painted in Master Series, including jamming in all the edges, which will do a pretty good job of sealing this. And then belt and suspenders, they're going to get seam sealed over that, and then later they're going to get painted over that. Actually, I found a great video online of a guy who tested a bunch of different anti-rust paints in a he tested them in a like salt, I can't remember the term he used, but basically like a salt vapor bath. He's got like a thing that's just creating salt vapor around them, and tested a bunch of different stuff over an extended period of time to see what worked. And Master Series was the best by far. It was the only one that didn't fail in some way. So I'm going to use that as my primary sealing, and then I'm going to put other stuff over top of it. But yeah, I'll link to that video down below so you can see it as well. All right, and this is all in. Went all right. A lot of ugly welds in here just because angles are bad and whatnot, but it's all nice and solid. It's all welded in. You know, I welded along here. I welded a couple spots in here. I couldn't weld all of this here, plus it would also just wreak havoc on the shape of the outside. I'm already going to have to do some body work just because of these welds. But it's all in, it's all solid. It's not going anywhere. In the video, I screwed this entire panel down and then unscrewed all of it except this side, because I realized that pulling it down to this side lifted this outer edge here, so none of these spot weld spots were in the right place. And I still even then had to do a lot of tweaking, as you saw, to get everything where I wanted it. But it's all in there, it's all solid, I'm pretty happy with it. On the outside here, I had to go in and touch up spots from the outside as well, usually where the screw holes were. This is what I was talking about it warping the outside here, so I don't want to do any more. But this will all be able to get ground down and cleaned up. Same with this. This is just going to need a little bit of grinding, a little bit of filler, which is fine. So this is all in. I'm done for today because this whole wheel well is full of just nasty smoke and stuff, and this is wrecking my lungs, so I'm not going to be in here any longer today. But tomorrow I'm going to come out, hit this really quick to just knock the really high spots off, and then cover all of this in Master Series, including like jamming it up in the seams and stuff. And then later we'll come back with seam sealer after I've done all the welding in this corner and do that. Next video on this car, I promise, will in fact be working on this rot here. Now that I've got that surprise extra stuff done in there, I can't do the upper inner rot, inner structure up here until I get this done. So this is the next thing. So that's all for now. Thank you all very much for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.